Ciarán Forde, thank you so much for bringing me to the Stag's Head, your favourite bar.
Hey Gary, great to see you. How you doing?
Doing okay. I'm better to be in the Stag's Head. It would even be better if we were actually there in person. But what a beautiful bar. I mean, look at that, isn't it?
Definitely one of my Dublin favourites. It really is. Got to know this place first when I was studying in Kevin Street. Kevin Street, the Dublin Institute of Technology, only up the road as it was. And that's when I started to know my own city. But the 3 years I spent there, and this was one of our favourite watering holes for sure. Just a place to hang out, kick back, try stretch that 5 punts or 5 pounds as long into the afternoon as you could. Just people watching, having the occasional pint, watching all the other students and business people and the world whizzing by. So it was a very great pub for that informative years. Really great time.
And was there a snug? There's always a snug in these old.
Always a snug and an upstairs.
Bit of a band upstairs on the weekend?
No, it's one of those great traditions of. At that time I think it's changed now. A no music policy because pubs are about conversation, and anything that corrupts with that, misses the whole point of a Dublin pub.
You're onto something there because one of the discussions that I've been having is the whole dominance of televisions in pubs now. That you go in and there's 90-inch TVs everywhere.
I when I lived in the UK, I saw so many beautiful. I mean, they have just gorgeous pubs in the UK, little village pubs, and then there's a pinball machine and a giant TV screen in for the game. So many of them lost their character.
Yeah.
So I'd hate to see that happen in Dublin pubs. But my favorite time to visit that place is early afternoon when it goes really quiet after lunch. Between 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock, you can hear the ticking of a clock, the rustle of a newspaper, and the jabber of a conversation going on in all the different corners. That captures the essence of Dublin pub culture.
Ciarán, I have never realised, and I know you're wild, that you are actually Brendan Behan incarnate. That was beautiful.
Without the alcoholism, yeah, I guess so.
So, getting on to, and with the theme of the Stag's Head, if there was one person dead or alive right now that you had a magic wand that you could sit down and have a chat with, a boy or a girl, who would it be?
I've thought about this, and I've had a couple of thoughts on there's lots of people I'd love to meet. I'd love to meet the guy who invented spreadsheets. I've mentioned that before. Lots of people I'd love to meet, but who you'd actually want to hang out with and spend time with in a pub? The Rat Pack comes to mind. Guys who actually know how to have a good time, great conversationalists. And then I was thinking, well, what's the modern equivalent of that? It probably sounds corny, but it'd be George Clooney, Brad Pitt, Leonardo DiCaprio. I could imagine hanging out with those guys in the Stag's Head, starting with a nice afternoon pint, and then who knows where the day ends up.
And it's not interesting what you're saying is the conversationalist. It's nothing about the wealth or it's nothing about the notoriety. You just feel to be a good bit of banter, as it were.
Great banter and great insight and great life experiences. That's what it's all about, yeah.
And do you think or is it a cliche? Do you think that's a bit of what the Irish, we still seek it out? Is that one of the things we still seek out? Take away all the shiny bits and find what's inside and see if there's a bit of crack in there. Crack being fun for those in America that are watching this.
One of the things that make Irish people successful internationally is their human factor. They're interested in what's going on behind the eyes of the person in front of them, their backstory, and what makes them tick. And that to be that unfolded in a kind of social conversation. And I think Irish people, that comes naturally to us. That just comes a natural way. That's what banter is. And as those stories get rolled out, the person emerges behind, those pair of eyes. And I think that's what really is one of the things. You see it in other cultures as well. I love the Middle Eastern people are very human. They want to know you. They don't want to just know what you have to say. They want to know you. Yeah, the pub is a great place for that to happen. There's a great atmosphere to allow that to happen.
And it's you'd know, of course, because you spent quite the amount of time in the Middle East and the MENA area, and there's an awful lot of Irish in an awful lot of these places who are, they're like the meat and the sandwich, you often think, don't you, Ciarán? You find Irish people, they're in between sort of those that want to get to buy stuff and those that want to sell stuff, and it needs this person in the middle, sort of like a filter. Do you ever feel that way when you were out there? Did you ever feel that was part of the role, the ambassadorial role, or?
No, I think it was the human journey. My time in Middle East Africa was definitely the humanity of it all. That, of course, there's the business to be done, but as I say, business is a great way to know and understand people in a different capacity. But the commonality is there: friendships, family, who you are as a person, your personal integrity, all those things I think resonate with Irish people, whether you're on the seller side or the buy side. Generally, weaving that personal with professional becomes again, a trademark of successful people.
That's great, yeah, and said in so many different ways. People rarely remember what you said, but they rarely forget how you made them feel. It's a great
That's right.
I often think. So if there was a quote, if you got a bit of a quote there that you would identify with.
Well, it's not so much of a quote, and it's certainly not well known, but I remember as a schoolboy and in the English language classes, the poetry book would be brought out, and our English teacher at the time was always good for selecting different poems. And there was one poem that one line stuck with me. I remember getting into trouble because I wrote the poem on the front face of my copybook. And one of the lines talks about giving a blow in the teeth for a wrong. My mum saw this and she was very upset that her angel child had the capacity to think in terms of, knocking people in the mouth. But yeah, it's a poem by John Masefield called Laugh and Be Merry. And it goes something like, laugh and be merry, remember better the world with a song, better the world with a blow in the teeth for a wrong, meaning justice, of course, and laugh for the time is brief, just a thread the length of a span. And it was that last line that always stuck with me, that you got to laugh and remember the time is limited. And if you can bring in merriment as well as social justice into your life, then I think you've lived a good life.
So what age were you when you learned that, Ciarán?
Oh,
what age?
12, I think.
12, okay.
12 or 13, yeah.
And you mentioned your teacher. Often we forget that it's about the teacher as much as the subject. Obviously, was it a he or a she?
It was a he, yeah.
He obviously explored outside of the syllabus and found good stuff and nuggets that you weren't going to have to learn, that maybe he was introducing that you would maybe want to learn. It's a great thing, isn't it?
Oh, I guess like many other subjects, it's not so much the subject, it's the crafting of the person. They're creating little human beings, teachers. So they just use English, science, you name the subject, they use it to craft people. And that's what makes a good teacher.
Well, that's a great way to end. I mean, I think that we could chat all day, but it's short and sharp. But what comes across is that you think about people first, last, and always. You do. And then you can work out the why and the how and the what and the where afterwards. So, Ciarán Forde, thanks a million.
Yes, sir. Garry, real great pleasure seeing you again, and look forward to calling in the pints sometime soon with you.
Sooner rather than later. Thank you so much, Ciarán. Take it easy.
Cheers. Take care. All the best to you.